In the shadow of Brexit's 9th anniversary, the United Kingdom finds itself at a crossroads of regret and reinvention. Once hailed as having the best of both worlds in 2016 EU membership with opt-outs from the euro, Schengen, and a hefty rebate, the nation now grapples with a stark reality. Economic analyses estimate that Brexit has shaved 6% to 8% off UK GDP by 2025, fueling lower growth, diminished investment, and a devalued pound. Public sentiment has shifted dramatically. Polls show 54% of Britons now favor rejoining the EU, the highest support ever recorded, with a majority deeming the 2016 vote a mistake. Yet, this yearning comes with strings attached. The EU, scarred by years of negotiations, is unlikely to revive the UK's special deal. Re-entry would demand full commitment, adopting the euro, joining Schengen's borderless zone, and foregoing rebates. For Scotland, eyeing independence as a pathway back to Brussels, the euro looms large too. The burning question persists: would surrendering monetary sovereignty to the euro bolster or burden these economies? As economic cycles align yet diverge, the debate rages: flexibility versus stability in a post-Brexit world hungry for revival. Story. The Brexit saga, now nearly a decade old in 2025, continues to cast a long shadow over the United Kingdom's economic landscape. Back in 2016, proponents of remaining in the European Union argued that the UK enjoyed an enviable position: full membership benefits without the commitments to the euro single currency, the Schengen Agreement's open borders, or full budgetary contributions thanks to a generous rebate. This best of both worlds narrative painted a picture of strategic advantage, allowing Britain to reap trade perks while maintaining fiscal and monetary independence. Fast forward to today, and the post-Brexit reality tells a different tale. The UK has endured sluggish economic growth, with GDP estimates suggesting a 6% to 8% shortfall compared to what it might have been had the nation stayed in the EU. Investment has waned, the pound has depreciated significantly, and inflation has bitten harder than in comparable economies. Recent data from the Office for National Statistics shows UK GDP growth slowing to 0.3% in the second quarter of 2025, a far cry from pre-Brexit vigor. This dismal outlook has ignited a surge in regret, public remorse over the 2016 referendum. Polls from YouGov and others indicate that over 54% of Britons now support rejoining the EU, with a large majority viewing the exit as a wrong turn, marking the highest levels of pro-EU sentiment since the vote. Even across the Channel, majorities in France, Germany, Italy, and Spain would welcome the UK's return, according to recent surveys. However, rejoining isn't a simple rewind. After the protracted Brexit negotiations, the EU is poised to demand full compliance from any returning member. Unlike before, the UK would likely forfeit its opt-outs, meaning acceptance of the Schengen area for border-free travel and, crucially, adoption of the euro as its currency without the rebate cushion. EU rules stipulate that all new members, except Denmark, which has a permanent opt-out, must commit to joining the euro once convergence criteria are met. This shift raises a pivotal debate: would euro membership benefit or harm the UK economy? And what about Scotland, where independence movements see EU re-entry as a lifeline, potentially requiring the euro too? At the heart of the euro question lies the loss of monetary policy independence. In the eurozone, interest rates are set by the European Central Bank, ECB, for all 20 member states, plus 2 unofficial adopters, prioritizing the bloc's collective needs over individual ones. For the UK or an independent Scotland, this could mean rates that are ill-suited, too high during slumps or too low in booms. The UK's economy, with its heavy reliance on financial services and a housing market sensitive to rate changes, exemplifies this risk. Many Britons hold variable-rate mortgages, making even minor rate hikes disruptive, as seen in recent years when a 2% rise triggered mortgage market turmoil. Compounding this is the absence of exchange rate flexibility. Without a floating pound, or a potential Scottish currency, economies can't devalue to counter inflation or productivity gaps. The euro's fixed exchange rate amplifies competitiveness issues, as vividly illustrated by the 2012 eurozone crisis. In the early 2000s, southern European nations like Greece, Portugal, Spain, and Ireland experienced higher inflation than Germany, eroding their export edge and ballooning current account deficits. When the 2008 to 2010 global recession hit, these countries were trapped: no devaluation, no independent rate cuts, no money printing. Bond markets panicked over liquidity, spiking yields and forcing brutal austerity measures, higher taxes, slashed spending, to curb deficits. Nobel laureate Paul Krugman lambasted this approach, noting how Greece's economy imploded under austerity, with unemployment soaring to 25% and a recession deeper than the 1930s Great Depression. The policy was self-defeating, deepening recessions and eroding tax bases. At the time, the euro seemed doomed, a flawed experiment yoking divergent economies into an austerity vortex. The UK's choice to shun the euro appeared prescient, sparing it such woes. Yet, the narrative evolved. In 2012, ECB President Mario Draghi's pledge to do whatever it takes stabilized markets through bond-buying programs, lowering yields and easing austerity pressures. Since then, doomsday predictions have fizzled, the eurozone has expanded, with countries divergent from Germany still eager to join. By 2025, economic forecasts show eurozone GDP growth at around 1.1%, similar to the UK's projected 1% to 1.4%, with cycles increasingly synchronized. Interest rates between the Bank of England and ECB have mirrored each other closely in recent years, suggesting alignment. Despite this, critics argue the UK should cling to its autonomy. The 2009 financial crisis hammered Britain due to its finance sector dominance. The Bank of England slashed rates to zero and launched quantitative easing, while the ECB hiked rates to combat inflation, keeping them 2% higher. In the euro, the UK's recession might have deepened further. Inflation patterns reinforce this. While UK and eurozone cycles track broadly, the UK saw persistently higher inflation from 2016 to 2021, tied to pound devaluation and productivity lags. Without currency flexibility, the UK could grow even less competitive. Yanis Varoufakis, former Greek finance minister, remains a vocal Euro-skeptic, claiming it fosters division over convergence. He highlights sluggish intra-Eurozone trade growth compared to non-Euro EU members like Poland and Czechia, whose currencies, like the Polish zloty, swung to absorb shocks, enabling faster convergence with Germany. This flexibility, Varoufakis argues, is sacrificed in the euro, stifling adaptation. Proponents counter with euro perks, reduced transaction costs, exchange rate certainty, and boosted foreign investment. For tourists, it's convenient. For businesses, it eases cross-border operations. Yet, these gains seem marginal. The City of London thrived outside the euro pre-Brexit. The real boon of EU re-entry lies elsewhere, the single market. Rejoining it could reverse pound devaluation, curb inflation via lower import costs, including cheaper food, and revive investment, lifting productivity. Post-Brexit, business investment has plummeted, exacerbating economic woes. Politically, single market access demands free movement of labor, a flashpoint in Brexit debates. It could fill vacancies, spur growth, and swell tax revenues, but also strain housing and public services amid population pressures. Interestingly, post-Brexit EU migration drops have been offset by non-EU inflows, suggesting overall migration levels might not spike dramatically. For Scotland, the euro debate intensifies with independence aspirations. The Scottish National Party, SNP, envisions independence as a gateway to EU membership, promising higher living standards through energy control and single market access. Europeans largely support this. Majorities in Denmark, France, Germany, Italy, and Spain favor an independent Scotland's EU entry. However, as a new member, Scotland would commit to the euro, raising similar concerns about monetary fit. Scotland's economy, tied to oil, renewables, and services, might benefit from stability but suffer without exchange rate buffers during sector-specific shocks. In 2025, Eurozone performance offers mixed signals. Forecasts peg growth at 1% to 1.2%, with stable labor markets and moderating inflation, outpacing earlier pessimism. The UK, meanwhile, has occasionally outpaced the bloc, growing faster in some quarters, but faces persistent headwinds like higher inflation and budget strains. Chancellor Rachel Reeves has openly blamed Brexit for economic drags, signaling a tonal shift toward closer EU ties. Ultimately, as an economist might conclude, the UK, or Scotland, could endure the euro but unlikely flourish under it. The advantages of monetary and exchange rate flexibility, plus fiscal leeway, outweigh the benefits for these unique economies. Politically, full EU rejoining with Euro and Schengen seems distant, given lost opt-outs and public wariness. Support for rejoining drops to 36% if Euro required. Instead, pressure mounts for single market re-entry, perhaps via a Norway-style EEA deal, capturing core economic gains without deeper integration's pitfalls. This path could heal Brexit wounds, fostering growth sans the euro's rigidity. As the UK's long-term decline persists, the case strengthens: reclaim the single market's fruits, but safeguard the pound's freedom.